Right, Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much once again for joining me for another blessed Shabbat lesson. All right, so for this Shabbat, I'm excited. I know I've been talking about this lesson for a long time, so we're finally gonna break it down. This lesson is called Enduring the Final Afflictions. Enduring the final affliction. So take a look at this picture really quickly. The globe is being held by a beam, and there are individuals lighting it on fire. Okay. So understand that we know the world can only be held up by the great I am, the Most High. So why would it be that people are burning the world? Well, because had everyone served the Most High from the beginning, people wouldn't be burning. So this would be people who don't serve the Most High, right? Those who are in position of power, and then due to the lack of understanding and the um, abundance of ignorance, what happens? People follow their leaders. So, without further ado, enduring the final afflictions. Title of this introduction is called The Road to the Final Famine. Since 2019, the world has spiraled out of control. With the inception of COVID-19, the world has been in a state of panic and frenzy, with people losing loved ones, getting sick while others didn't, losing jobs, and facing major situations that YouTube wouldn't dare to let me speak on. The atrocities of Australia and China were just the beginning. In 2020, the world started to learn and hear more about such atrocities like human trafficking with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. However, even though this is very important, what if I told you that there has always been a sinister plan called the Great Reset? As of 2020, we have been participating in one big movie, and things seem to be going according to plan for Satan and his children who are controlling the narrative for the moment. What if I told you that all of this was to create a shortage of food and supplies in the world that would later bring the people of the world to their knees and into submission due to the governments of the world controlling the food? This is a strategic battle plan from Satan himself. Control the food, control the people. Therefore, you get the final affliction, and the only way to endure the three types of famine is the Almighty, the great I am. So, what is famine? Hmm, think about it for a second. Most of the time, people have no idea what famine is. Usually, people think that famine just refers to food. But what if I told you famine has quite a few meanings, and that if you didn't understand them, then you wouldn't be prepared for what's coming and would fall during the chaos? So what does famine truly mean? In this lesson, this is more of a series. We will Each slide is broken down into three. One, scarcity of food. Two, lack of mammon. And three, the absence of gold. All right. This is called the guide of proportion. So when you think of famine, you think of proportion, right? You have to start proportioning things. So now understand that these three things will be guided through proportion for the rest of our lives. for the rest of our lives. Okay? So, really quickly, scarcity of food, obviously food. Lack of mammon, obviously money. And the absence of gold has nothing to do with gold, silver, or any of the such liking. Okay? I'm going to leave that one in suspense, right? So, you may be asking, what is famine? Now, what you've heard is this. You've heard on several occasions how there's a lack of baby formula. That's what you've heard about. You've heard that people are going crazy because the US or the Babylonian government is they're stockpiling baby formula for undocumented immigrants. Okay, now this is all this is all a cue to get people upset, because notice how they say undocumented immigrants, right? When you think of undocumented immigrants, and I will put all these links below in the description. When you think of undocumented immigrants, you think of maybe Haitians, Mexicans, Ecuadorians, people who are coming from Central and South America, right? But what if I told you that that's not the case? What if I told you that's not the case? Even you see the governor of Texas going after the president in regards to nationwide shortage of baby formula. Okay. Now, a state that is on the southern border, why would they be saying this unless they've seen something firsthand, right? So obviously something is happening to where they must travel through these southern states or to the border of the southern states and be passing out some kind of food. Maybe you would think so. But then you have articles like this from France 24, baby formula shortage sends US parents into panic. But when you read these articles, you have members of Congress. Look what it says. Okay, Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik charged Twitter, her extreme right-wing colleague Marjorie Taylor Greene accused the U.S. Congress of wanting to send nearly $40 billion to Ukraine while American mothers can't find baby formula. Now, how many of you know that that $40 billion package has to do with baby formula? Because remember, they took out the children and the mothers in Ukraine, right? Remember, they took out the infants out of the hospitals, right? So what they're doing is they're producing supplies, right? But giving it to others. Now, I'm not going to go into this portion right now, but you would think how crazy it is as Ethiopia, Somalia, Yemen, Sudan, maybe Ghana, Cameroon, Congo, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, different places around the world, Australia, they're all facing dire famine, right? And no one is sending billion-dollar packages to these individuals. So why is it that they're receiving the funds that the people should be receiving? Why is it that they are just a past few months ago we had the collapse of so-called Afghanistan's structure, right? And then they said Taliban took over. Now, all those individuals, how come it is that for the Afghanis they put on military bases, but now they're opening up the borders for all Ukrainians? They're giving them free college. They're giving them free school. They're giving them free jobs. They're waiving they're waiving the requirements to even get into the border. But yet you have children and women being trafficked on the southern border. Yet you have children sitting in cages on the southern border. What is going on? It seems as if the world is being shown the hand that no one wants to ever make clear. If you are a person of color or different descent other than what Ukrainians would be and what this world would say white, then you would get no help or you would get the bare minimum. Did you know that the same countries that help the Afghanis are also taking in the Ukrainians? Now, at the expense of canceling the Afghanis' visas, kicking them back out to accept Ukrainians indefinitely. But why is this, right? $40 billion package deal to help people who are scattered throughout Europe now, right? But not their own country. Or I bet, but because you're only fixated on hearing about baby formula, I bet you didn't know they were telling us that electricity shortages are coming. I bet you didn't know about that one, did you? I bet you didn't know about that. I bet you didn't know that why US might be facing electricity outages across big states. Gas is up, water is scarce, food is scarce, right? And all of a sudden, it's getting hard in every aspect. So, are you recognizing, if you wanted to know what famine is a shortage of anything. Shortage of electricity, shortage of water, shortage of food, shortage of cereal, shortage of wheat. And then you have things like this, shortage of childcare workers. Okay? So what does this mean for what? The mothers. What does this mean for the single parents who really rely on what? These places of childcare. No baby formula, shortage of workers. So who's going to be taking care of the children? It looks like everything is falling at just the worst times possible, right? And though you may not see it, it does not mean it's not happening. And this is why a lot of people will suffer with what's to come. That's why I said, if they don't understand, then they wouldn't be prepared for what's coming and would fall during the chaos. So what does famine mean? Let's see. Check this out.
From the scene right now. This is the second time in a week that something like this has happened. On April 14th, the plane crashed into the Gem State Processing in East Idaho. What's going on here? Well, it sort of gets weirder. Food processing plants all over the country seem to be catching fire. A couple of days ago, a fire destroyed the headquarters of Azure Standard, one of the largest organic food distributors in the country. At the end of last month, a fire severely damaged a fresh onion packing facility in South Texas.
Did you hear? One of the largest organic food processing plants.
In Oregon, a potato chip processing plant just reported a boiler explosion that sent workers to the hospital. Here's a news report on that.
Eastern Oregon, where crews are battling a major fire at a potato chip processing plant. Air 12 flew over the scene at Shearer's Foods on Highway 207 in Hermiston. We're told the fire was caused by an explosion of a portable boiler there. 2 people were taken to the hospital.
So industrial accidents happen, of course, but this is a lot of industrial accidents at food processing facilities at the same time the president's warning us about food shortages. They're getting hit by planes that catching fire. What is going on here exactly? Jason Rance hosts a radio show in Seattle and joins us to put it into perspective. Jason, good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, obviously, when something happens every so often, you obviously hope.
Now, really quickly, pay attention to the captioning. Various food processing plants in the U.S. have burned down, and this is just being recorded in the past 6 months. Now, remember the number of the beast, 6, right? So they're telling you who's doing this. They're telling you 6 months, anything to attack humanity, right? Pay attention.
That there's no significant damage and certainly no one gets hurt, but you kind of write it off. It's not that big of a deal. Accidents happen. But when you've got well over a dozen food processing plants and warehouses getting destroyed or seriously damaged over just the last few weeks, at a time when the food supply is already vulnerable, it's obviously suspicious. And it could lead to serious food shortages. That's why some folks are now wondering, well, number one, what's going on? And you've got some people speculating that this might be an intentional way to disrupt the food supply.
Wait, may I ask you to pause there really quick? Can I ask you, I just want to nail this down so our viewers understand. There have been confirmed over a dozen disabling accidents at food plants in the last month, over a dozen.
Absolutely, and we're talking about.
Now, mind you, that's 12 processing plants in over a month. I just got this video. So that would have been pretty much April to now. Just at least minimum 12. So you see the famine that's coming, not just food, brothers and sisters.
Some really significant plants. The Taylor Farms facility in Salinas, California, was completely destroyed by a fire last week. We've had 2 major potato processing plants in Belfast, Maine, and Warden, Washington, that were completely gutted, which is happening at a time where we already have a potato shortage globally.
So while you think nothing is occurring, remember, brothers and sisters, now is the time to be frugal and pay attention to those prices. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not going to affect you, because it is affecting everyone. You heard potato shortage worldwide. So obviously these processing plants being destroyed is not just in Babylon, this is globally. Globally. Which means why all of a sudden, accidents happen all the time, but why all of a sudden is it the focal point now? You see, brothers and sisters, this is so important because while you have some individuals talking about Chris Rock and Will Smith. Some individuals talking about abortion, even though it is an important topic according to the Most High. The things that is the most important are being hidden by things also like, oh, Kevin Samuels died, right? You know, the man who did a lot of counseling, but yet he is no different from the rapper who calls himself Lucifer, known as Lil Uzi. If you say, I think it's Little Uzi, right? Because if you say it really fast, it's Lucifer. They both said that they're dragging everyone who follows them to hell and they're stupid for following them. But yet everyone's focused on them and not the true issue. And this is why I said in the intro, because this is just the intro, that a lot of people are going to be destroyed by this chaos. Now, then you have to think about, they're talking about potato shortages, potato bread, fries, French fries, different things that people will eat, normal bread, cereals, right? Dog food, all these things have potatoes in them. That's just for one thing.
We're talking about the onion supply at that Rio Fresh.
Onion.
But it's not just produce plants. Last month, there was a fire that took out a Nestle food plant out in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and that's impacting frozen food brands like Hot Pockets or Stouffer's, which...
Then he's talking about frozen food. So while you're sitting there thinking that I'm gonna get a business or do this, man, listen.
maybe you might buy if you can't get fresh food from a warehouse that just exploded. And that Shearer's food facility you just mentioned in the open, I mean, that's the only West Coast facility that they operate. So there is some significant concern, of course, that this is going to impact the supply chain. Now, to be clear, the timing is very suspicious. It's obviously concerning. Police are saying that these fires are due to faulty issues with equipment, so they're not saying that this was intentional. Either way, it's obviously going to have some significant, implications in us getting our food.
Yeah, I mean, an hour ago, a plane crashed into a General Mills facility. We'd already planned this segment. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The onus is on people who think that's a conspiracy theory to explain what is going on. What are the odds of that? I have no idea. Jason Rates, I appreciate.
What are the odds of that? Here's another news clip. What was it, I think it was a few days ago. Check this out.
The doomsday clock. It estimates how close we are to a civilization-ending apocalypse. Right now, it's set at 100 seconds to midnight. That's the closest it's ever been to the witching hour.
Wait, what did you just say?
Now, it's set at 100 seconds to midnight. That's the closest it's ever been to the witching hour. That's the closest it's ever been to the witching hour. That's the closest it's ever been to the witching hour.
To the witching hour. So they're telling you that all evil, all chaos is about to unleash. You are just seconds away. In common terms, brothers and sisters, we are just one moment away from all hell breaking loose. He said, I've never heard a newscaster talk about doomsday preppers and witching hour at the same time. Now, for all those individuals who said, oh my goodness, well, how do you do it? Or oh, that wouldn't be me, or I'll get myself together. Now they're saying, wait a second. Maybe we should tell you that these people were actually right.
The doomsday clock. It estimates how close we are to a civilization-ending apocalypse. Right now, it's set at 100 seconds to midnight. That's the closest it's ever been to the witching hour. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists say we are at doom's doorstep. To blame, they say, security threats, a lack of climate policies, and an insufficient response to the pandemic rolled into one big mess. Scientists set the clock back in January, before Russia even invaded Ukraine. They say that clock is meant to encourage the world to work together to ease the threats facing all of us. But
now remember what he just said. Scientists say the clock is meant to encourage the world to work together. So, brothers and sisters, you have just a moment of time before the world's coming to that. Remember that beautiful word that they always said since the time of Nixon, Reagan, the New World Order? You have just a moment of time until they come together in the New World Order. That is our doomsday for those who follow Christ, because the persecution will come through there. And you'll see that in the absence of gold. Persecution will come when they bring things together. I have from the World Economic Forum, while you're sitting up there looking at Will Smith and Chris Rock and Kevin Samuels and all these other things, they have changed the financial currency to blockchain, which means you must have a chip in order to get money. And they're about to unleash that by 2025. Well, you're not paying attention. The plan's still rolling out. Christ said to be aware, did he not? Continuing.
they say that clock is meant to encourage the world to work together to ease the threats facing all of us. But some prefer we just get ready in case midnight strikes. Here's CNBC's Rahel Solomon.
Doomsday end of the world preppers, once synonymous with fringe fanatics, hoarding supplies suddenly look a lot less crazy these days. Jason Charles is a former New York City firefighter and proud prepper.
My definition of a prepper is somebody who prepares for anywhere between small emergencies to large emergencies. This mask is a nuclear biological chemical mask.
Jason, who also hosts the Angry Prepper channel on YouTube with 117,000 subscribers, has spent decades gearing up for just about every disaster imaginable.
This is what a prepper closet in the city looks like. My food supply will last for 2 years for 4 people. My wife, my son, my daughter, and then we even have food supply for the dog.
All in, Jason spent thousands on his arsenal of supplies, gear, and training. His best guess on the total cost? Over 60 grand. And he's not alone. Every time I go to the store, I'm grabbing a little bit of extra stuff. Brooke Whipple, an outdoor educator who lives in rural Michigan, turned to prepping during the height of the pandemic.
And you know, it really doesn't even take a pandemic. It takes an ice storm or a blizzard or a tornado.
Here, Brooke is using this at-home freeze dryer to help preserve and store her food supply. The shelf life of these strawberries? Over 20 years.
Smells so good.
Oh,
wow.
This is an industrial-sized freeze dryer. It's large enough to hold up to 10,000 pounds of food.
That is equivalent to about 15 people's worth of food for a year.
Eric Christensen is the CEO of Nutrient Survival. The company, originally focused on nutritious food supplies for camping, made a major pivot during the pandemic.
Store shelves were empty, and we actually had the infrastructure in place with our process and our freeze dryer that we could address that market need.
Now they exclusively focus on the emergency food market. Many of his clients, extreme preppers. And Eric says days after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, business shot up 1,500%.
We are selling food faster than we can make it. The reality is that our business has been on fire for the whole year, and we can't keep up with demand.
And the threat of extreme weather, an escalating war in Europe, and new variants is likely to keep that demand coming. For the news, I'm Rahel Solomon.
So like I said before, we don't got time for people who want to argue. We don't got time for people who don't believe. You don't believe? Okay, that's perfectly fine. Have a nice day. You don't believe? Just make sure, I'll make sure not to forget to block you from communication, because when it does come, I am not the person to run to. I'm not a food bank. I'm not a bank. I'm not a loan officer. I'm not going to loan you anything because you had time to pick up a little this, a little that. I don't care what anyone says. Unless you are homeless, that is the only way you can't save. Prove me wrong. Unless you are homeless, that's the only way you can't save. Because brothers and sisters, when you save for the future, you're saving for discipline. You understand? Now, one thing you may have not noticed in this previous video is that they're emphasizing that people with families are going to have food. You notice a man had children, the woman had, a family. They were showing a family camping out, right? They're emphasizing. And then, so you have on one hand the LGBTQ community wanting to convert your children. You have the women wanting to kill the children. And then you have them saying the doomsday preppers are the ones who have family. So we're seeing a shift at preparation as to who is preparing and who they're telling to go after because they've prepared. Oh, wow. Because people, let's be honest, this is nothing against single people, but honestly, single people don't prepare like those with children. That's just a reality. That's a reality. Because prove me wrong. How many single doomsday preppers do you see? Right? They all have family. You ever notice that? Because single people are not worried about surviving. They worry about because they're gonna scavenge like a hyena. They're gonna scavenge and leech onto people. They're gonna play, help me, I need help. What was me? And guess what? I'm gonna show you through scripture how the Most High views that. I'm gonna show you. If you live in a very developed country, Dubai, Qatar, in some parts Saudi Arabia, US, Europe, some parts of Australia, some parts of New Zealand, Japan, some parts of China, Korea, some parts of South America, Belize, Jamaica, some parts, I should say, and you're doing well and you haven't prepared, you really need to ask for forgiveness to the Most High because as soon as everything stops, it could stop tomorrow. And you have to sit and ask yourself and look at your food pantry and say, man, what was I doing? I was on YouTube. I was watching this award show. I was watching that. I went to the movies to watch this. I went to the club and did this. Hey, what are people doing? Next video.
Absolutely have to share with you right now is the craziness of the empty shelves Biden movement and the fact that they are sending pallets of baby formula to the border. Meanwhile, in our own district at home, we cannot find baby formula. Okay, we literally are struggling to find baby formula, and this got sent to me by a Border Patrol agent this morning and said, this is disgusting. You will not believe this. They're receiving pallets and more pallets of baby formula at the border.
Why is our government sending baby formula to the border?
All right. Now, I'm not going to get into this. As y'all know, who listen to me by now, I'm not going to do the whole Democrat and Republican thing. I don't care. It's not even about the Most High. But what I will tell you is that was a Republican Congresswoman. That's who that was. That's how she was able to receive things from the Border Patrol officers saying, why are they doing this? Here, my child, not saying me, but I'm speaking as that officer. Here, my child, my newborn child has nothing, and yet all our food is going to those across the border. Now, remember this, right? Everyone been in a frenzy about helping people across the border. But isn't it strange that since they couldn't cancel Title 42, which allows all the immigrants to come in without requirements, now they're sending all of the formula across the border, at the border? Who's at this border? Ukrainians. Look at who's at the border of Arizona. Who's at the border of San Diego in California? Ukrainians. They're sending this to them. Now, I'm not going to watch the whole video of that, but just wanted to share. And check this out.
Why the Gates Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation, Syngenta, which is one of the largest GMO corporations, a British Swiss company, why they financed the creation of a nuclear-proof seed vault to store all the seed varieties of the entire planet up near the Arctic Circle, inaccessible by Greenpeace boats or almost anything. What's going on with that? What interest do they have? Well, the BBC, when they did a story on it years ago, called it the Doomsday Seed Vault. I don't know. I can't answer that, but it sure is a scary thing to me. Are they planning to do something to the seed varieties of the entire planet and then be the ones who control what comes out and in what form it's genetically manipulated or not?
The answer is yes. That's why I said there ain't not an organic thing in this world. Stop playing. Stop playing. All right. But meanwhile, while they're destroying the power plant, the food processing plants. Meanwhile, while preppers are prepping, meanwhile, while baby formula is being sent to Ukrainians over the border and to Ukraine, we have an issue in Babylon. What's the issue?
Salinas Valley, California produces 70% of our leafy greens, but not everything grown here makes it to our plates.
We got a whole load pretty much of loose organic lettuce. You know, we've got spinach. It's perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it.
A report by the Natural Resources Defense Council says that as much as 40% of all the food produced in the United States never gets eaten. We toured ocean mist farms to find out why.
You see how it just has a yellow tinge to it.
Mm-hmm.
This is not marketable.
What's wrong with it?
There isn't anything wrong with it. This cauliflower here is just too big.
Size matters because retailers demand uniformity. When everything is stacked up nicely, it makes for better eye candy. And when it ends up in a landfill, there's another problem.
Food is the largest material in our landfills. 50 million Americans don't know where the next meal is coming from. If we cut our food waste even by a third, there would be enough food for all those people who don't know where the next meal is coming from to be fully fed.
So they wasting food, not just at fast food restaurants or Panera Breads or Starbucks. This is happening at farms too because of the regulations. All because they want everything to be so-called in uniformity. They can miss me with the nonsense. People starving, people dying. You telling me? And think about this, right? You see how big that cauliflower was? It was almost the size of a basketball or a soccer ball. But they want you to buy little finger cauliflowers. So imagine how long that would last me and my family if I had a soccer ball or a basketball sized cauliflower, rather than going back to the store and getting 3 and 4 packages of cauliflower, all for what, $30, $40? This is on purpose. And then you go to this one, the famine, the famine, the famine. This just came out this week, this article. Check this out.
Speaking of Hollywood, here's a question. Which country in the world gets the highest number of citizenship requests? Which country attracts the maximum number of immigrants? The United States of America. As of 2020, according to a report, it had more than 50 million foreign-born residents, 50 million. The US has long been seen as a land of promise, the land of opportunity. Now, what if we told you that Americans themselves may be losing faith in that promise? A new report has come out with some very interesting data. It's from a group of citizenship brokers. It says rich Americans are working on a plan B. They're trying to acquire a second passport. And the number of such people has gone up by more than 300% in the last 3 years, 300%. A second passport is a new gold in America. But why do people want it? To go to safer countries, they say, and these are Americans. America's political climate has seen a lot of uncertainty in the last few years, from Obama to Trump to Biden. It's a hard gear shift. The society is polarized, the rules change drastically, and these political swings are driving people out. That's the number one reason they give. This is what the report says. Wealthy Americans have developed a deep-rooted fear about the future of their society. They would rather live abroad than deal with the state of affairs. Some want to avoid changing tax rules. Others are worried about growing hate crimes in the US, and yet others fear an all-out civil war. The second reason they give is the pandemic. The pandemic showed Americans how vulnerable they can be. During the global lockdown in 2020, many of them could not enter Europe. No matter how much money they offered, they could not bend the rules. So now they want a second passport, a plan B, like I said, for their families in case of another global health crisis. Tells you how even superpowers lose their appeal. The rich and mighty don't want to put all their eggs in the American basket anymore. They want other options, safer options, they say. So how do they get these second passports? Through CIPs, that's Citizenship by Investment Programs.
Now here it goes. If you're watching my video, I'm going to let you know, don't even write this. Don't even write it. I'm sorry. Because what you may be thinking something. And I'm just sorry. I'm going to tell you. So, because I skimmed through all the videos I share with you all. Don't write it. Why? Watch this.
How do they work?
How does it work?
Through money. If you have the money, you can invest in a country. In return, the country will give you citizenship.
What? You have to be an investor. Now watch this.
What kind of investments are we talking about?
Look at
Real
this.
estate,
Real estate,
an enterprise project, or
that's
donations to the country's national fund. And
Check
which countries offer such programs? How much do they charge? The figure varies and the list is long. Dominica charges $100,000 in exchange for citizenship. Antigua and Barbuda, $130,000. Grenada, $150,000. Same for St. Kitts and Nevis. Montenegro takes $294,000. So does Portugal. And Bulgaria takes a colossal $588,000. And these are just...
Now, brothers and sisters, who can afford that? I mean, you couldn't even sell your house and get that. Someone just look at this. So the only way you can become a citizen or get out of that Babylonian dump is to make sure that you have all the money in the world.
The starting prices. The richer you are, the more you'll have to lose in your purse strings. Next question. How many Americans are opting for such programs? A lot of them. The report says that in the last 3 years, more than 300% spike has been seen in such applications, more than 300%. Which countries were these applications for? Mostly Portugal, the land of oranges. This report says Portugal's 5-year residence permit is the most in-demand program among Americans. It requires an investment of $294,000. In return, it offers an average stay of 7 days a year in Portugal, along with visa-free travel to 26 countries in the EU. Once the permit expires, you're eligible for a permanent citizenship process. In fact, citizenship brokers say that in the coming years, Portugal could be the next California. A lot of American wealth and talent is going to this country. Interesting paradox. The USA, which is a country which takes pride in its quality of life, the land of opportunity, the melting pot of cultures, with a large number of people from across the world still trying to go to the US. The fact is that Americans themselves are looking to leave. And that says something about where the country is heading.
Famine of people coming. Famine of people. So why, like I said, while some people are focused on Chris Rock, Will Smith, Kevin Samuels, clubbing and businesses, you and I, the normal person, we can't afford that. Food, I mean, the food plants they destroying food that's produced. Let's not forget, during COVID, they also had the milk destroyed. They also had the farmers, they were paying them to destroy the crops. And did anyone hear about that avian bird flu, right? For the chicken? Did you know what they did? Like 3 or 4 chickens got sick and they burned and incinerated over 5.8 million chickens. Over 3 or 4 chickens that got sick. There's your eggs. There's your chicken. There's your poultry. Right? The land that used to be promised is fallen. It's hopeless. It's finished, brothers and sisters. And if you're still hanging on, I feel sorry for you. Let's get into it. Scarcity of food. When plenty turns to naught. When plenty turns to naught. They thought Babylon was going to live forever. That's what some people thought. They thought Babylon was going to live forever. All right. Matthew 24, excuse me. Matthew 24:4. And Yeshua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. And I'm starting with this because there's so many deceivers in this world. You're sitting up there listening to people who not even telling you how to prepare. Now, brothers and sisters, for what I shared with you, there is no way you can prepare better for this than to get right with the Creator and the Savior. There's no way better. Yes, you can be a doomsday prepper, and guess what? If you don't have Christ, you're just storing up for someone else, right? You're just storing up for someone else. You can freeze dry and all kinds of things, air dry, freeze dry, all kinds of dry food, and guess what? Not be with Christ, and still you'll be saving for someone else when you die. So the best thing to do is to get yourself together spiritually, then mentally, emotionally, and then physically, because it's no longer scripture anymore. It's manifested. It's here. It's in your face. And whether you like it or not, it's either affecting you now or it's about to. And don't say, oh no, famine hasn't happened. When food prices go up, that's called famine, because food prices going up means you'll be able to get a shortage of food, right? Unless your pay goes up, you're gonna have to get less, right? So now before you may have went home with 5, 6, 7 bags of groceries, right? Maybe inflation hits. Now it's 2 and 3 bags of the bare minimum. So inflation also is a part of famine. Don't be fooled. And like Christ said, take heed, let no man deceive you. At this point, brothers and sisters, how many people are listening to people who's talking about nonsense? It's sad, it's sickening. Nonsense. Hey, very first warning Christ gave: don't let nobody fool you. Don't let nobody deceive you. Don't let nobody lie to you. My scripture is my scripture. My words are my words. Follow this Bible and it will never fail you. Follow this. Verse 19. Now, why would I be jumping to 19? A lot of things are occurring, but wanted to go into this respect. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. Now, understand all the things are being what? Held against children. Abortion, the LGBT community. Now, they're like, fine. You don't want you don't want to kill your children? Fine. We're going to indoctrinate them out the womb. You don't want to indoctrinate them, you do homeschool? Fine. We're going to hit your home and make sure baby formula and foods and childcare workers are in a shortage. When people don't realize, look, now I couldn't imagine being a mother or having a child who's a newborn at this time. It's scary. It's scary. But Christ said, don't let no one deceive you. I told you these things would come. Because after this, they're going to come to lay hands on the children. I'll show you in scripture. I will show you in the breakdown of what famine leads to. Because one way or another, either you're going to serve the Most High or you're going to serve the devil. And if you serve the Most High, you'll stand with your head held high in faith for the Most High. But if you serve the devil, you will crawl back to your Father, who is the government. That's right. You will crawl to the government for need of things. Think about it. When I was talking about that great reset, if you go on YouTube, the great reset, what are they talking about? Resetting things because of opportunity, right? Great reset. No, just fix things. They're not talking about resetting how people are treated. They're not talking about resetting from lies and teaching people the truth. They're not talking about resetting from teaching people about the Bible and about the Most High God, the Almighty Creator, and His Son Christ and the Holy Spirit. They're not talking about resetting what they've done to Africa, where China and Belgium and France and Babylon, known as America, go and take out the resources, and they only give people 75 cents for cobalt, yet they use cobalt to make Tesla, they use cobalt for Mercedes, they use cobalt for Volkswagen, they use cobalt for lithium batteries, they use all these things, but yet they're giving 75 cents to those people. Yet Elon Musk making what? They making these non-electric vehicles. Go ahead and look up the term blood batteries. They're called blood batteries. I'm talking about going green. They want everyone to be a slave because blood batteries comes from lithium. Lithium and cobalt come from Congo. Over 70%, over about 80% of those things come from that one country alone. But why are those countries so poor? They give the people $1 for 30 and 40 pounds of those things and then sell them for $13 million a pound. They're not talking about resetting these things, because then Africa would be the richest country. Then you'd have Africans and people of color, people in South America, people in Mexico, people in Puerto Rico, where there's gold and different places. Then you'll have these people living like people in Dubai. Then you have these people living like people in the Buckingham Palace. Because then you'll respect what they have. You'll respect the ground. You'll respect what the Most High has given these people. And then you'll treat them fairly. They're not talking about resetting that. They're talking about resetting, in the words of what is his name? Klaus Schwab, the man who owns and created the World Economic Forum. He said, "You will own nothing and be happy." Those were his exact words. Look it up. Klaus Schwab. You will own nothing and be happy. So that's the Great Reset. So all of this famine is so that you can own nothing and be happy. It's so that you can own nothing and come back to me, the government. That's why I say, hey, I got nothing against people using government assistance, but the time is going to come where you have to choose. Do I rely on the Most High, or do I run back to my master? My master who can give me $500 and $600 and $700 a month for food. Yeah. By the way, if you really think about it, right? The Most High is a loving creator, right? Satan is a pimp. Think about it. Say, you go work for me, I'll give you $600 and food. Now go and treat yourself. Most High's like, no, you follow my commandments, you do what I say, I'll bless you sevenfold. You don't need to go and slave for me and be all sluggish and tired. Most High's never asking that. He's asking if you follow the commandments, if you love one another, if you be good to others as you would to yourself. But Satan's like, hey, here's this EBT card, this EDD card. Here's this handout. Remember, you gotta follow my requirements. Don't you make too much. Don't you get an education. Don't you become smart, because when you become smart, then I can't, because you're gonna make too much. And then you'll understand that I'm lying to you. Then you'll understand that I'm using you. right? Most High said in Hosea 4 and 6, right? He said, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So we'll take a handout of food and water, but won't find out what's really going on, right? Mark 13 and 17, same thing. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. How many people are going to help these women? Now, there's a lot of women out there, and I'm telling you this, right? It's sort of like, well, it's not sort of, but it definitely is Satan working against the Most High. Because here, as a man of the Most High, I have to look for these individuals who need help, right? It says, be a father to the fatherless, be a help to the mothers instead. Yes? Means don't be like, oh, I like this woman, so I'm going to take care of children. No, you actually help that woman and try and help her parent her children so that she doesn't have to be so stressed because she has a lack of a righteous man, right? So you would be an answer to someone's prayers. But like I said, it looks like Satan is doing overtime against the scriptures because now you have Megan Thee Stallion, you have Cardi B's, Nicki Minaj's, you have all these females, what, the City Girls and a lot of all these people, right? And yet the scriptures say that the women are going to be hurting the most and they're advertising more to destroy the women. OnlyFans, right? All these TikTok challenges. It's sad. It's sad. Okay. Luke 23. One moment, please. Thank you, and I apologize. Thank you for your patience through that brief pause. All right. So Luke 23, verse 29. And I read, "For behold, the days are coming, in the which they shall say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bear, and the paps which never gave suck." Now, you have to understand, though it was for that specific time, this also is resonating for now. So it's going to be a point. Why would Christ say this? Weep for yourselves and for your children. Why would Christ say this? Because you would have children that you wouldn't be able to care for. You would have children that you wouldn't be able to feed. You have children that you wouldn't be able to protect. It's going to become the land of the law to hurt children. Remember, I showed you in the last video or the last episode, episode 2 of Days of Lot, leave our children alone. I showed you the man said, no one is illegal. They want children. Why would you have to say that if you are looking at adults, right? Because they're obviously the age of consent and righteousness. But looking at children is illegal and it's disgusting. But they believe that they should be legal. So now we come to a point where there's a scarcity also of righteousness. There's a famine of righteousness. There's a famine of intelligence. There's a famine of common sense. There's just a famine of love. Okay. So it's gonna get sad. All right. Ezekiel 7. There we go. And I truly feel bad for so many of those Christian brothers and sisters out there who don't read the Old Testament, because I'm going to show you how much destruction it will do to your own soul. Show you. Ezekiel 7, verse 1 reads, "Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Also, thou son of man, thus saith the Lord God unto the land of Israel, an end, the end, is come upon the four corners of the land. Now the end is come upon thee, and I will send mine anger upon thee, and will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. And mine eye shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abominations shall be in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. Thus saith the Lord God, and evil, and only evil, behold, is come. An end is come, the end is come. It watcheth for thee, behold, it is come." So while others are sitting there saying, the Old Testament, we don't have to read that. Well, obviously Ezekiel wasn't talking about his time, or we wouldn't be here today. Obviously, this is what? Called a prophecy. It's what we're seeing now. The end is come. The morning is come unto thee, O thou that dwellest in the land. The time is come, the day of trouble is near, and the sounding again of the mountains. Nor now will I surely pour out my fury upon thee, and accomplish my anger upon thee. And I will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense thee for all thine abominations. So pay attention. The Most High says, how you are judged, how you get through these things is based upon all the things that you've done in your life. And my eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. So now the Most High is in a different stage than what people have heard. He says, I won't have pity, I won't spare, I won't have mercy. This is why it's important to be right with the Almighty in Christ and the Holy Spirit. Continuing, he says, I will recompense thee according to thy ways and thy abominations that are in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am the Lord that smiteth. Behold the day, behold, it is come, the morning gone forth, the rod had blossomed, pride had budded. Violence is risen up into a rod of wickedness. Are we not there? None of them shall remain, nor of their multitude, nor of any of theirs, neither shall there be wailing for them. The time is come, the day draweth near. Let not the buyer rejoice, nor the seller mourn, for wrath is upon all the multitude. Isn't that where we are? How many people rejoice when they buy things? No, because it's a famine, right? Who knows? Someone may meet you in the parking lot and want to steal your things, right? You may have a fight with someone or an argument, or there may be an altercation in the store for something, right? The seller, because now guess what? They're not getting much money, right? Because no one can afford it. So everyone is what? Mourning. That's where we are, right? For the seller shall not return that which is sold, although they were yet alive. For the vision is touching the whole multitude thereof, which shall not return, neither shall any strengthen himself in the iniquity of his life. Now, understand once again that multitude means the world. Okay? It means the world, a crowd, the world, where you would get things from. Okay? I'm telling you, it's getting serious, isn't it? And many people, like I said, many people will isolate these scriptures just because it's the Old Testament. Well, they've done a disservice to themselves. Verse 14, they have blown the trumpet even to make all ready, but none goeth to the battle. For my wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. So individuals like myself, we've been blowing the trumpet for quite a while. And what do people do? Forget it. Or, we got time. And, as long as I can afford it, I'm good, right? Trying to get people ready. But what do the next scriptures say? The sword is without, and pestilence and famine within. So before destruction, first comes pestilence and famine. Didn't we just go through COVID, which would be a pestilence? Now, all of a sudden, there's a famine. Are you not seeing there's only one thing left? Because famine ain't going to take long to get into. It's not. Remember, just because it's not reported, and just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not relevant or real. Now, do you need to think about this though, and I've said this on numerous occasions, pestilence we've seen, famine and the shortage of things is here. Do you need to see someone at your doorstep to know that destruction is next? Are you one of those people who need to see? Because it's coming. It says, he that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. So it's given us now two different regions. All those who live in cities, which have you noticed that everywhere in the world for most of the part, especially if you're in Babylon, is a city or a town. Okay. So all those who are in cities and towns will die of famine and pestilence. Now, all those who are in the field who, per se, have farms and acres and different things, well, they're going to come and cut them off. While then what? Famine and pestilence happen to us. The whole goal was to get everyone into a city so they can control the what? Field. This is one of the reasons why Bill Gates is now called Mr. Bill, aka Farm Gates, because he owns, if not almost all of the farming land in the US. Verse 16 reads, but they that escape of them shall escape, and shall be on the mountains like doves of the valleys, all of them mourning, everyone for his iniquity. You know why? Because we would sit there and say, Most High, you've chosen me to survive all that chaos that I just had to run from. Some people now are going to feel worthy. Now, watch this, right? It says, but they that escape of them shall escape and shall be on the mountains like doves. Okay. Now, escape would mean to flee or to run, right? See, look, it means to deliver, to escape, carry away safe. Usually when you think of escape, you think of evading, running away from something, right? So eventually, like I said, all those doomsday preppers, you're gonna die. They're gonna die because Christ said, and the Most High said, they shall be on mountains like doves, which means we all have to run. Which means you're not gonna carry your food if you have to run. If you're all of them mourning, did you notice that? Shall be on the mountain. So you're going to be crying. Adrenaline is going to be kicking in, right? Yet you're going to carry all these things. It's one of the reasons why I say, who's really going to put their faith in the Most High? It's also why I say, is your mentality there? Is your emotional state there? Is your physical state there? Because you're going to have to move. All hands shall be feeble, and all knees be weak as water. Because what? You'll have to fight yourself. You have to fight people off from wanting to hurt you or someone else. And knees, because guess what? Most people can only run short distances, right? But your knees, when your knees get weak, it's because you're walking and running for so long. When you can't stop, you may see one mountain and be like, but the people are chasing me up this mountain, so I need to run to the next one. You don't get a water break. You don't get to say, I'm tired when someone's chasing you. When someone's shooting at you, you don't say, please wait, stop, let's talk about it. People are going to be at a full-time rage when this occurs. They shall also gird themselves with sackcloth, and horror shall cover them, and shame shall be upon all faces, and baldness upon all their heads. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of wrath of the Lord. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. Now, silver and gold are in terms of money. This tells us what? If you have to throw things out in the street, that means it has no value. If something is removed, their gold shall be removed. That means what? There's going to be a what? Economic crash. An economic crash. Okay? So all those investors out there, hey, just saying, invested for nothing. When people ask me, what do you think we should do? Well, I definitely don't. I say take that out because it's going to be to the point where you use it or lose it. There is no, oh, I'm going to save it for an extra few years. It's use it or lose it. As for the beauty of, and hold on, before I get into that, think about it, right? They're saying they want a great reset. This is it. They're resetting things. And when they do reset the financial state, your money will mean nothing. So when I reset something, I don't care if you got $1 million, reset goes back to zero. The Most High, the scriptures is telling you, it's telling us. The reset is right here in the scriptures. Ezekiel 7:19. Continuing, verse 20. As for the beauty of his ornament, he set it in majesty, but they made the images of their abominations and of their detestable things therein. Therefore I have set it far from them, and I will give it into the hands of the strangers for a prey, and to the wicked of the earth for a spoil, and they shall pollute it. My face will I turn also from them, and they shall pollute my secret place, for the robber shall enter into it and defile it. I mean, you have the LGBTQ hour at churches now. I mean, that sounds like pollution to me. It says, make a chain, for the land is full of bloody crimes and the city is full of violence. Is that not Babylon? Is that not Europe? Is that not the world? Right? Wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathen, and they shall possess their houses. I will also make the pomp of the strong to cease, and their holy places shall be defiled. So, see, the Most High said, because these ministers and pastors wasn't teaching, I'm going to let these drags and all these people come in. Did y'all see the lady who was, I think it was in North Carolina, South Carolina, poor lady. Old lady was there for a prayer service. She was in the back, and the people went to kneel down and pray for her. And the one girl knelt down and held her hands in prayer, while the other one went in her purse behind her. And then after the prayer, they left. I mean, these churches are finished. And at that time, don't you think a deacon or someone should have been there watching the doors? I mean, yeah, it's for safety purposes, but they're supposed to be for welcoming and greeting people, and then also making sure the people are safe. But if you have a minister who doesn't believe that these are the times, then what need would they have to keep the people safe? Verse 25, destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. So how many people seeing all these things unravel and be like, oh, well, I'm going to make peace with my brother. I'm going to make peace with myself. I'm going to get my credit score up. Maybe things will get better, or maybe I'm going to start saving my money. And most guys like, you dummy. Ain't nothing going to change. They literally told you what was going to happen. They said, Agenda 2021 or Agenda 21 means that they wanted to reset the world starting at 2021. Well, we was in lockdown from 2020, right? Some people 2019. 2021 they brought the V, right? They brought this. And now everything is just continuing. Division through health, division through abortion, division through this and that, right? What did the Most High say? There shall be no peace. Therefore, what happens? Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priests and the counsel from the ancients. So once things continue to get worse and worse, then they're going to come and they're going to go and see what the vision of the prophets were in the Bible. So which means, but the law shall perish from the priests and the counsel of the ancients. Counsel of the ancients means the elderly. So these will be your pastors and these will be your elderly who are in the churches. And the king shall mourn, and the prince shall be clothed with desolation, and the hands of the people of the land shall be troubled. I will do unto them after their way, and according to their deserts will I judge them, and they shall know that I am the Lord. So then they're gonna go and seek these ministers and pastors and these elders who they once trusted, and they're not gonna have an idea of what to do. But once again, brothers and sisters, what did I just say? A minister or a pastor who doesn't know what to do, well, it's because they don't think that this is the end. All right. Sorry for that. Thank you for the brief pause. All right. So now I'm going to 2nd Esdras, chapter 15, verse 1 through 6. It reads, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee, and let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. Now, incredulity, more finding those thoughts, right? The unbelief, infidelity, evil, okay? It says, fear not the imagination against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speaketh against thee. So, like I said, all those who don't want to believe, don't worry about them. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. I don't want to argue with you. You don't believe me? Fine. But most High, hey, I'm doing my job by loving you enough to tell you and share with you. You don't want to believe it? Fine. Okay. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So, what does this mean? Right now, we have shortage of electricity, shortage of clean water, shortages of food, shortages of processing plants, shortages of wheat, shortages of baby formula, shortages of teachers, shortages of childcare workers, shortages of all kinds of necessities. Remember what famine is, right? Remember what famine is. Now, in the basic terms, scarcity of food, right? But it says a want. Also, when you look in the regular dictionary, famine says extreme scarcity of food, but it also says a shortage. Just a shortage, right? What is a shortage? It reads a state or situation in which something needed cannot be obtained in sufficient amounts. So now I can't get what I need, right? That's famine. That's famine. So are we in famine? Are we under a plague of the Almighty? Yes. The world is in a plague. See, the whole earth is in the plagues of the Almighty. Now, if you survive these plagues, blessed are you, because the Most High loves you. His promises was always that he would protect those whom he loves, who serves him properly, who listens to him properly, who follows his son properly, who takes heed to the Holy Spirit properly, right? These were always his promises. And that you in return love him as our creator and us being the creation, okay? Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 40, 9 through 14. And I read, death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge. These things are created for the wicked, and for their sakes came the flood. Now, this is something else, right? Death, bloodshed, strife, sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge. So understand this. When people ask me why things are happening as a minister, you know what I say? Repent and change. Because I can tell you that the righteous will not go through famine. I can tell you that. I can tell you. I can tell you when the tribulation of the righteous will be, and it will not be mixed or mingled with the tribulation of the unrighteous. I can tell you that because the Bible tells us that. I can tell you that your troubles and the righteous troubles are not the same. I can tell you that when it's referring to the sword, it means people will want to kill you because you flaunting what you have in the lust of the eyes and the pride of life, right? Because you're in the world, people will want to hurt you, right? Strife. It's more so like a wanting to jealous, being in competition with people, right? See that contest? Okay. When you're of the world, people are always in a contest, a competition with people, right? Now, in righteousness, sometimes people will be in a competition with you. But guess what? Because we're righteous, we don't even pay attention to that. We don't do things because we're in competition with others. They do things because they're in competition with us. Now, even that looks foolish on the wicked's part because what happens? They're doing something for attention of ours when we're not even paying attention to them in that manner. So these are all the things that are created for the wicked. And notice what it says. The Most High said, for their sakes came the flood. So you have to understand destruction, bloodshed, death, famine, all these things came because people, the wicked, were so much involved in death, bloodshed, strife, killing one another, calamities, creating troubles for other people, famine, withholding things, right? All these things were created for the wicked. This is why I say, okay, there's a respect to certain things. Like, for example, if you, and I say this all the time, if I've been able to touch or reach someone and maybe they've seen the things that I share and they haven't asked questions by now, don't sit there and ask me questions when things occur because I know you wicked. I know that you had the opportunity to ask. I know that pride will not allow someone to ask. I know that strife or competition will not allow someone to ask, right? But asking is in the nature of humility. This is why even my congregants with me, y'all know that I tell you, ask questions all the time. Because either you're going to ask questions to a minister now, or you're going to get judged for what you didn't ask later. Knowing that every time, for example, in our personal congregation, I tell people to ask all the time. Why? Because I don't want you to get judged for the questions you didn't ask. Because you'll get judged for that too. Just like ministers will get judged for not asking people, do they have questions? It's my job to help you get to the kingdom, right? It's my job to help you stay on the narrow path. And of course, you're going to have questions. So it's my job to be able to answer them. And on the other side, if you as the congregants don't ask, then you get judged by Christ for not asking. And therefore, you get destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Reading. Moving forward, verse 11. All things that are of the earth shall turn to the earth again, and that which is of the waters doeth return into the sea. All bribery and injustice shall be blotted out, but true dealing shall endure forever. The goods of the goods of the unjust shall be dried up like a river, and shall vanish with noise like a great thunder and rain. So notice, the Most High say the goods of the unjust. I don't care how much they prep. I don't care how much money you got. The Most High is going to make it wither. It's going to be of no value. This is why you need the Most High. You need Christ. You need the Holy Spirit. You ain't getting through no famine without the Most High. You really want to try that? I don't think you do. While he openeth his hand, he shall rejoice, and so shall transgressors come to naught. So the Most High is going to open up his hand to the righteous, and we will rejoice. But the transgressors, they shall come to naught. This is why I call this lesson When Plenty Turns to Naught. Because for a long time, everyone been like, oh, the Most High. You know what? No one ever says, praise the Most High that I'm able to go to the grocery store. It's always praise the Most High, or God is good, I got this job, right? God is good, I got this car, right? God is good, they boosted my credit score up, I can afford something, right? No one ever saying God is good for my groceries. Notice that? No one ever saying God is good for my clothes, right? No one ever said, how many people you hear say God is good that I'm able to wash clothes? How many people saying God is good for this stove or this microwave or this running water? And all these people who things have come not to, it's because they don't love the Most High and they never valued things when he wasn't judging immediately, and now he is. Think about it. Did you see the poor girl, the 16-year-old girl? And I say poor girl because this seems to be a normal now. The evil, the 16-year-old girl in Detroit. She was used by a gang, right? And she was used to go seduce a man to get some money. And with that being said, she seduced him. He got robbed. She seduced him. She lured him into being robbed. And then they found her body shot to death in the man's car that she robbed, yet he was also murdered. 16 years old. You see, judgment is coming fast. Where they think, oh, a girl's hanging out with guys. Oh, I'm different. They got me. This is that case where females will say, I'm different. I'm not like them. These people don't value no one anymore. Sinners don't value sinners anymore. Bloodshed is normal. It's normal. It's the new normal. Strife, contest, competition, it's normal. Because at the end of this, they are not satisfied with bloodshed. I said, poor girl. Poor girl, because you know why I'm saying this? How did her life get to that point? To the point that she had to be a decoy to be used to get someone else robbed. Why? So one of the things where men like myself say, Women just ain't thinking very clearly. I don't know. They make some of the worst decisions in relationships. Obviously, it's the curse of Genesis 3, but good grief. You didn't think that the Most High was gonna, if you saw that man that you set up got killed, what do you think they was gonna do to you? You thought you was just gonna go about it and what they would call be a jack girl, they would just keep using you? No, they got rid of all the evidence, including you. And so now, brothers and sisters, transgressors are coming to naught. I'd hate to be single in this world. They setting people up. That's a whole nother kind of wickedness. And like I said, women are being used for the worst of evils. So now that woman, that little girl, 16 years old, is going to be held accountable for that man's murder, even though she's dead. What? She's going to be held accountable because here's some guy, maybe 19 or 20, whatever the case is, even though he shouldn't have been doing that, but here she is, maybe lying to him or whatever about her age, because a lot, please, everyone knows females lie and manipulate about their age, and they have the ability, and they have the what? They have the support of Satan to change their appearance at every angle. And so she used this to end another person's life. Transgressors are coming to naught, brothers and sisters, and judgment is at an all-time high clip. That's why you got to be careful and serve the Most High. I'd hate to die without the Most High. I'd hate to die even not having a chance to get myself together. I'd hate to be one of those individuals. Jeremiah 14. That's why I say, brothers, sisters, transgressors, they're just not grateful. They're just not grateful. I don't ever see people in social media saying, thank you, Most High, for these groceries. Thank you, Most High, for these clean clothes. Thank you, Most High, for being able to pay my rent or my mortgage on time. Come on. Thank you, Most High, for, you know what? Thank you for this car. But you know what? I ain't gotten my tires changed in a long time. Thank you for keeping these tires held up. And you know how we live in a society of greed and a lack of appreciation? If we lived in a world or in countries that produced appreciation, there would be no Black Friday. What would you need to go and get a new TV every year for? What would you need to go and continue to get the same pair of shoes in different colors for if you were appreciated what you had from the beginning? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's so sad. And you know, as an African American, what people would call Judah, even it gets even worse in our community, right? How can you wear Jordan sneakers knowing that that money goes back to prison prison complexes because Michael Jordan owns a high stock in prisons? How can you own Jordans? The same shoes that people wait in line $200-$300 sometimes. And yet the man is helping. You ever heard of the lobbyists, right? Who are the lobbyists? The people who own these these uh these companies, and the lobbyists are the ones who own the companies, and they also do back deals with the politicians. That's why some of the politicians are linked to Pfizer and all these different groups, right? And so they get money to promote these things. And guess what? Michael Jordan is a lobbyist. He lobbies for certain things. Just like in the NBA, he lobbies to get people on his teams. So I'll give you this money. I give you this contract. Hey, I'll give one of your players this much money, or I'll let him sponsor. That's going to bring more money to you because he's on your team. Just let me get this pick and that pick, and then we go. That's lobbying. It's lobbying. All right. Jeremiah 14:1 reads, "The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah concerning the dearth." What is dearth? Famine. What is dearth? Drought, famine. Okay. "Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. And their nobles have sent their little ones to the waters. They came to the pits and found no water. They returned with their vessels empty. They were ashamed and confounded and covered their heads." This is talking about when they had lack of water, right? They came with their vessels. So where would you go? Think about this, right? They returned. That meant they were going somewhere. Their nobles sent their little ones to the waters. Who owns the waters now? The government, yes. So you're going to end up going, what the Most High is saying, if you are relying on the government, you're going to come back empty handed. If you are waiting for them to tell you, oh, please, we're in a shortage and you can only get one at a time, or oh, things are going to get better, you're going to cover your head in like doubt and confusion, and you're going to feel ashamed. You're going to feel, I'm sorry, stupid. You're going to be looking dumb. Because the ground is chapped, for there was no rain in the earth. The plowmen were ashamed, they covered their heads. Yea, the hind also calved in the field and forsook it, because there was no grass. And the wild asses, those are donkeys, did stand in the high places. They snuffed up the wind like dragons. Their eyes did fail because there was no grass. And what? You have parts of the world that's burning up, right? You have Africa burning up. You have South America and the Amazon burning up. You have California, Texas, New Mexico got the biggest wildfire in the entire United States, that's blowing all the way from the top of New Mexico, and it's in Arizona, and it's about to make its way, and they say it's going to go at this rate all the way to Las Vegas. And these are supposed to be your agricultural lands, right? There was tornadoes not too long ago. I think it was in March or April in Kansas, destroying farms. Yeah, people crying now. Because when we said it would happen and you didn't see it, you got to work, you got to go to the store. You didn't believe it. But now it's here. O Lord, though our iniquities testify against us, do thou it for thy name's sake, for our backslidings are many. We have sinned against thee. So then you're going to see what? Even though this is sincerely Jeremiah saying this, you're going to see people say, oh, Most High, please forgive me. Remember this, Most High cannot be mocked, so he understands who is sincerely asking. Just like there was one female, I told my wife, there was one female that I was in the military once before. Right, she's doing good and whatever, got herself. together, and she's out of the military, whatever the case is, and she has 2 children. She was asking me about prepping. Didn't mention nothing about her children. And I was talking about her children, say, hey, don't you need things for your children? Oh, let's not talk about that right now. Let's talk about these websites that, you can, nah, man. Red alert. Red alert. If you don't care about your children, red alert. Bye. You just want to survive. And just because, and this is a sad reality, right? Just because someone has children doesn't mean they're a good parent. And just because you see women out there advocating for abortion doesn't mean they want to kill all females want to kill all children. But it is so hard to discern now. Like, you gotta ask direct questions and not be as afraid now. Like, nah, before we have a conversation, I need to know how you stand, where you stand with the vaccine, where you stand with this, where you stand with that, where you stand with Christ, where you stand in the Most High. Like, I need to know your standards before we start exchanging conversations of comfort. That's the reality. There can't be no more, oh, well, no, I need to know. And y'all, for those of you who've been with me, y'all understand when I broke down the whole the when I broke down about the about what this does, and they blocked it. Y'all knew I got more. And, and that, they would never let that get out because that was the first lesson that they blocked from me. And then they started blocking and removing, and they partially blocked some of my lessons from different parts of the world because I started getting on point to what that thing does. And while everyone had took that, it's just like, you can't trust the devil. Why was it all of a sudden a major point, and now all of a sudden it doesn't matter? You just got suckered into something, and you don't even know what it is. And now all of a sudden, all the states in unison in Babylon and the countries have stopped requiring them. So you got suckered to take something, and then when people started getting sick and children started losing feelings and different things like that, they said, all right, Ukraine. They just switched it just like that. I'm not saying it's not important, because it is, because it's going to lead up to something. And y'all going to see if it be the Most High's will in June, if not July. I'm going to go back into the lesson of the beast, and you're going to see how all of that, we're going to go strictly, but nothing over Elon Musk. We can go over Elon Musk. We're going to go over China. We're going to go over the blockchain. We're going to go over the AI that they've been doing. We're going to go over the individuals who took this. I got videos of them being able to spin their eyeballs and their pupils back. I got it. Yeah, clear as day. Yep. So people are adapting. People who took this are adapting. It's adapting to their bodies, and it's allowing them to become double jointed and do different things that they've never been able to do before. All because of that video I blocked. I pinpointed it from the book Behold a Pale Horse, all from William Cooper. So hey, it's getting real. But you gotta, at this point, brothers and sisters, like I said, you gotta tell people to come direct now. Like, there ain't no time to be saying, oh, well, I'm not sure, or not. Nah. If you're not sure, be gone from me. Be gone from me, because I know exactly where I stand. I stand with Christ, Team Most High, Team Holy Spirit, Team Heaven. You might as well say we on team New Heaven, New Earth. That's the team we on. Are you on team New Heaven, New Earth? Because if you ain't and you still talking about old heaven and old earth, we out here. Bye. And why I say this is why I say old heaven and old earth. You know how many places I've been in the world, praise the Most High. But do you know how many places I've been in the world where people call heaven on earth Babylon, America? So if you still talking about this is your heaven, this is the greatest place in the world, and nothing can go wrong here, and the earth is the rest of the world and how things operate, and that's just them, we gone. That's the old heaven and old earth. We gone. We talking about new heaven, new earth, peace, peace, and more peace. That's it. And how we endure to get to that peace, how we walk the straight and narrow to get to that peace. That's what we talking about. All right. Verse 8. Oh, the hope of Israel, the Savior thereof. In time of trouble, why shouldest thou be as a stranger in the land, and as a wayfaring man that turneth aside to tarry for a night? So why should we be individuals that not know what's going on in the land and wayfaring all over the place? Why shouldest thou be as a man astounded, as a mighty man that cannot save? Yet thou, O Lord, art in the midst of us. Why are we called by thy name? Leave us not. So Jeremiah is saying, Most High, we're the people, your people. Why would you leave us? Thus saith the Lord unto this people, thus have they loved to wander. They have not refrained their feet, therefore the Lord doeth not accept them. Hey, so all those people sitting there saying all Israel is going to be saved, using the scripture that the Most High says in Isaiah, saying all Israel, you are a fool. You're a fool. So you sitting there meaning to tell me people, throwing hundreds of dollars of bills in the club and strip clubs and doing all kinds of sick and twisted stuff, drugs and all that. You sitting there telling me the Most High going to accept them in the kingdom? You are a fool. He said what? He will now remember their iniquity and visit their sins. He said, his people, the children of Israel, who I am also of, they have not refrained their feet. That means our people have no self-discipline. They have no self-discipline. So if I sit there and say a famine is coming, they're not even going to have self-discipline to stock up. They're gonna be like, oh, I remember when he said that, and they just gonna go back to, oh well, these Jordans come out, oh these Nikes come out, oh hey, you see those new pants, and I want to start this business. Everybody over 30, everyone and they 25 and up, everyone's starting a business. If they still saying the 30s is the new 20s, go on and miss me with that foolishness. Most High says they love to wander. They don't care about him. They don't care. And this is the sad reality. And this is why I said, hey, guess what? Let's make these things cut and clear. Just like Christ said, know them by their fruits, right? He also said, what comes out of their heart proceedeth, or what comes out of their mouth proceedeth from their heart. I need you to be cut and direct. You need to tell me how long you've been in the truth, how long you've been operating. And yes, sometimes it doesn't matter how long someone's been in the truth. There are people who are remorseful and repentful. That's true. And there's those individuals who do a lot better than people in the truth as well, Jew or Gentile. But I need to know directly what you about, where you stand. Well, don't tell me, well, a few years ago I heard about that and I was curious and now you teaching. Me teaching means nothing. You could still pick up a Bible. You could still pick it up. And this is one of the reasons why the Most High said he gonna have more mercy upon what? Some Gentile nations other than Israelite nations. Like And when I say Israelite nations, I'm referring to Babylon and Europe, because you can purchase a Bible or a Bible can be given to you. If I go to Djibouti, which I have been in Africa, Bibles are banned. It's illegal. Iran and different places, Bibles are banned. Like, let you have a Bible, let you talk about Christ, you getting hung. Somalia, Bibles are banned. Let you talk about Christ there. Let you talk about Paul or Peter. Let you talk about the God of Genesis. Let you talk about Jacob, right? You getting hung. You getting hung. Did you see the girl just recently in Nigeria? Poor girl. That's sad, right? Poor girl in Nigeria was at college, right? Obviously, Christian girl. She made one reference to Muhammad. The people gathered other people and they beat her to death on the university campus in Nigeria. It's just a few days ago. Let you say something in another country about Muhammad. But you mean to tell me you in Babylon, you in Europe, and the most developed countries, this is why the Most High says, forget them. I'm not going to accept them. You don't even got no restrictions against holding the Bible. You don't got no restrictions holding the Bible. And you mean to tell me that you now you want to find out what's going on? Nah, we okay. Pass. Verse 11 reads, Then said the Lord unto me, Pray not for this people for their good. I mean, some people, I'm going to sit there and say, I wish someone would ask me to pray for someone who loves to wander, who's someone who refrained themselves from turning to the Most High. I wish. I will look at you like you stupid. Especially if you live in a developed place where the Bible is not being restricted, where YouTube isn't restricted, where Facebook isn't restricted, where Instagram isn't restricted. Babylon is not Iran. You don't have to do churches in your house and hide. Facebook isn't blocked. Twitter's not blocked. Instagram's not blocked. This is Babylon. This is Europe. Come on now. We're not praying for people who willingly wait to see something happen to pray for them. The Lord said unto Jeremiah, Pray not for this people for their good. So if the Most High said not to pray for them, I'm just going to look at you like a brick wall is talking to me. Simple. You're not going to get me to get in on your sin. You had time to repent. You should have repented. How many churches is now? This is crazy, right? You see the amount of churches that we have in Babylon. You couldn't visit one to try and get a Bible or try and talk to the congregants, right? Even if you didn't want to talk to the pastor, just talk to the congregants, right? You know how many churches we have on the corners in Babylon? Now, when I went to the Middle East, there's a mosque almost everywhere. You don't have that. but you refraining your feet, you're loving to wander. Verse 12, when they fast, I will not hear their cry. How many people knew that? You sitting up in these churches, and because you're not doing right, the Most High's like, I don't care how much Bible fast. Oh, we gonna fast Wednesday as a church. Most High's like, go on now, miss me with that foolishness. You're not even reading the whole Bible. You're not even understanding the word. And when they offer the burnt offering and an oblation, I will not accept them, but I will consume them by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. That's even people who sit there and serve the Most High. I want to show y'all something real quick. Right? I'm not going to read it. Isaiah 53. You know what I found out recently? Now, the people in Israel who are the fake Khazarians or the Ashkenazi Jews, right? They hold the Torah. The Torah and the Tanakh. The Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible. The Tanakh is the rest of the Old Testament. That's what they believe. And in the entire Tanakh of the Old Testament, Isaiah 53 is the restricted chapter. Why is that? Look what it says, verse 3. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Who is this? Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. Who is this? But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. This is the restricted chapter. They don't allow people to talk about it in Israel. This is about Christ, who died for our iniquities, our sins, who was striped, who was hidden or beaten with stripes. These are whips. Okay, bound with stripes, stripe, hurt. He was beaten blue, or as you see, black and blue. Who endured that for you? So yeah, like I said before, Passion of Christ is not even fully accurate. Think about it. That was Christ. And because people don't want to know about Christ, we ain't got time for that. People don't want to accept the Savior. I don't got time for you. It's evil doings. It's foolishness. It truly is. Ecclesiasticus 39. (24 to 35). And I read, as his ways are plain unto the holy, so are they stumbling blocks unto the wicked. So that means it's in black and white to serve the Most High. It's either you do or you don't. All his ways are plain to the Most High, meaning Most High tell me to do something. I don't need to ask how, what's the measurement, when, what time, what millisecond, what's the weather going to be like. It's plain as day. It's clear as clear. He say do it, we do it. But unto the wicked, it's a stumbling block. Well, that don't fit my schedule. Oh, I'm going to feel uncomfortable. Oh, well, I don't like large crowds. Oh, well, I don't want to be bothered with those kinds of people. Oh, well, I don't got enough money. Oh, well, you told us we was going to get there, but I don't have enough money. I don't have a passport. I don't have money for a plane ticket. It's always something in the way of the wicked's ability to serve the Most High. And that's also how you can tell who loves the Most High and who doesn't. Because if you serve the Most High and every word that you use is a stumbling block or something in the way to serve Him, that means you don't even believe in His power to begin with. Because if you believed in His power, you believe that He removes stumbling blocks. Therefore, you wouldn't need to say, how is this going to happen? When are you going to do this? Who are you going to use? Right? For the good are good things created from the beginning, so evil things for sinners. So remember, you have to understand this, right? When the famine occurred in Egypt, did Jacob suffer? Did Jacob suffer? And did his 12 sons, or did his sons suffer? Did his household suffer? No, they didn't. So that means what? For the righteous, the Most High is never going to allow them to suffer. What they thought meant, oh man, the Most High said we got to get ready. Okay, we're getting ready. He said we got to get ready. They went and got an abundance, not realizing that him losing his son was even for a greater purpose, just to see that all of it comes back to what? Oh my goodness, look how great the Most High is. My son is alive. He's doing healthy. He's doing good. He still loves the Most High. And on top of that, he endured tribulations for the Most High to give him the ability to have power over people. And in return, because this is my son, he had mercy upon us, whole family, to give us plenty for the family. How many people think like that? See that? Sometimes a loss comes out to be a good thing for the righteous. But evildoers or sinners, they look at a loss as, man, well, how do I got to get that back? Sometimes losing things is a good thing. Sometimes not having the ability to provide or get something is a good thing. It's all how we look at it from a mental state of view. Spiritual, mental, and emotionally. That's how you would determine that. I'll read verse 25 again. It reads, For the good are good things created from the beginning, so evil things for sinners. The principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing. How many people knew that all these things are being attacked? Water, fire, which it's referring to being able to cook your food, by the way. Because if you don't have electricity, you don't have what? Food, right? No refrigerator, no stove, right? Iron, how you create the food, how you ground the food, right? Your different type of metals. This also helps with what? Making vehicles and cell phones, all these things that we would use, right? Salt preserves food, does it not? Not only does it give us a little flavor for our food, right? Tastes good, right? But it also preserves, should you want to preserve your food. How many people knew that water is in scarcity? How many people knew that salt is in a shortage? How many people knew that flour, which comes from Ukraine, is in scarcity? How many people knew that during COVID, they dumped out all the milk, hundreds of gallons of milk? How many people knew that Australia been talking about this for years? Once the bees die, we all die. The honey is gone. How many people knew that? Honey is depleting. How many people knew that Indonesia, one of the largest, if not the largest producer of oils for cooking, all the oils that the people use, the palm oil, canola oil, not healthy, but they use it, all these oils, they're also having a shortage too, which would mean what? Our olive oils are going to go up, right? And then, of course, you'll see clothing go up eventually, right? Because eventually, what's going to happen? Remember where they make clothing, brothers and sisters, and pay attention to this. They make clothing in Haiti, Malaysia, Taiwan, different places, third world countries, India. And so, because food increases for them, they're going to ask for more money. You think people, you think, you know, in the Jordans, they're going to give these people more money to make the clothing and their shoes? No. So that means there's going to be, I mean, they should have been paying these people good. How can you make a pair of Jordans for like $2, right? And then sell it for 200? It's sick, right? Verse 27. All these things are for good to the godly, and so the sinners, they are turned into evil. And man, I was telling my wife this scripture, right? I go into the gym. I am so sick of going to the gym and seeing it as it's the gyms in Babylon. It's like people go to the gym to hook up and to fornicate and to lust and to be in strife and competition. And so for the sinners, evil things are good. How can I sit there and work on my temple and you bothering me at the same time? Or you got no clothes on, you doing all kinds of sick stuff that has nothing to do with the gym. Like if that's the way you want to live outside that. Bring it to your home, but don't introduce it to everyone's sight. Have some shame, have some dignity. But just what the Bible says, all good things are turned to evil because of sinners. And it don't stop just with single people. You'll have some married couples. Me and my wife working out together, and guess what? There'll be married couples trying to be, or couples or boyfriend or girlfriend. This is why you came to the gym. You didn't come to work on your body, maybe to lose that last meal. Maybe you splurged a little and didn't feel good, so you want to burn it off. Maybe you want to see a goal in your arms, or you want to walk better on a mountain or on a trail. Maybe you want to feel lighter or fit in some clothes. This is why you go to the gym. So, yeah, brothers, sisters, all things are being turned for evil. I mean, look, also, you got schools as well for their children. Once upon a time, children can go to school to learn something. It may not have been the best of things, but it was somewhat decent. Now it's about gay BCs. Now it's about Satanism. Now it's about sexual orientation. Like, what? Why? Why? Chapter 39, or chapter 39, verse 28. And I read, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes, and in the time of destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Fire and hail and famine and death, and all these were created for vengeance. So pay attention. Famine. If you are suffering, or if you do suffer from famine. You know the Most High is trying to get your attention. It says also in verse 30, teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword punishing the wicked to destruction. All that is for vengeance. Wild beasts. You ever see people getting mauled by animals? One girl in Texas, she got mauled and the two dogs just ate her face alive. She's alive, but her face was mauled. I ain't never seen nothing like it in my life. All you can see is her teeth and her nose bone. Man, just the whole face going. When I seen it, I said, man, what have you done against the Most High? What have you done against the Most High for him to allow that to happen to you? But the teeth of wild beasts come and maul people. Verse 31, they shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is, and when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. Who is that? The righteous. So we'll be ready. We were commanded, even by Christ, to be ready, to always prepare. And notice when it said, when their time is come, they shall not transgress. So if we had to go through something, guess what? We know what time it is. We know he loves us. We may be in one of these cities where famine may be, and guess what? We still know he loves us. It's not a direct attack to us. It's a direct attack to those who do not serve him. That comes in, brothers and sisters, with your relationship with the Most High. Because you're going to see it. We're going to see it everywhere. Famine, death, destruction. And you may think that prices going up, you can't afford something. That doesn't mean that it's necessarily for you. We just understand it's our time, right? Everyone had to go through something in the world. Now it's our time. Man up, love the Most High. Woman up, love the Most High, and keep pushing. He said endure, right? Verse 32, therefore from the beginning I was resolved and thought upon these things and have them in writing. All the works of the Lord are good, and he will give every needful thing in due season. See that? That's all about mentality, brothers and sisters. Don't let your emotions control you, or should I say, don't let the flesh be intertwined with your emotions. You want the spirit to be intertwined with your emotions. Because if the Holy Spirit is not intertwined with your emotions, then you will lean to the flesh. And when your flesh is intertwined with emotions, that means you will not be patient. And you wouldn't believe this. You wouldn't believe that if you don't have something, the Most High will provide for you what's needed. But in the spirit, patience possesses the soul, which means what? He sees what you need, and when he feels that it should be delivered, he will deliver. Okay? Telling you, this journey takes discipline, brothers and sisters, and those four things I told you: the spiritual, the mental, the physical, and the emotional. It takes discipline in all aspects. Verse 34. So that a man cannot say, this is worse than that, for in the time they shall all be well approved. So I'll read that again. Verse 33. All the works of the Lord are good, and he will give every needful thing in due season, so that a man cannot say, this is worse than that. That means what? You can always look back at the last season and say, man, he really came through. For in the time they shall all be well approved, means tried. We will be tried for patience. And therefore, praise ye the Lord with the whole heart and mouth, and bless the name of the Lord. Amen. Second Esdras, chapter 16. Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 17 through 25. And I read, woe is me, woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, and the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. A lot of people do not like this scripture. What is a scourge? A scourge, a person or thing that causes great trouble or suffering. See, cause great suffering too. For what? An amendment. What is an amendment? An alteration or change for better. Correction. Correction of fault. So the Most High is telling the people, hey, I'm going to send some things now. Notice what? He doesn't send death as correction. He sends famine, plague, tribulation, and anguish. Notice that. He doesn't send death, but you cannot be corrected through death because it's over from that point, right? He sends these things as correction. Come to me. Let me show you that, and how many people were so vulnerable during the time of the lockdowns, right? Let me show you that with all this time, you can come and serve me. Let me show you. Let me show you that, your job couldn't save you. I can. Let me show you why it's good to serve me and not be in the world. Verse 20, it says, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. So that means what? They didn't look to serve the Most High and change themselves. They went right back to TikTok. Way better yet, they went right back and created OnlyFans. They got worse during the lockdown. They got worse. It says, behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. Even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. So the food, at one point, there will become a food drop, and then things will get higher again. When that does happen, guess what's going to happen? People are going to fight over it. They know what they're doing. Raise up the price and then drop it one moment. Watch, there'll be so much chaos, right? So much chaos that it would probably mean that military would have to govern the supermarkets, right? Private sector agencies would have to govern the supermarkets to keep order. Wow. Created catastrophe, right? For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine. So guess what? You sitting there thinking that this ain't a big deal. This is massive. This is catastrophic. This is what they call what's the word? Cataclysmal. Okay, if I'm saying it right. Excuse me if I'm not. And the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So that means all out war is coming after famine. I said this before years ago. I said you cannot destroy people without cutting off their food supply, because if they have food, they're strong enough to fight. If you're weak, your bones is fragile, and you can't move, you don't have the ability to fight. So, before destruction, brothers and sisters, throughout the whole world comes what? Famine. That's why you're seeing power plants and food plants and all kinds of things go down, right? Now, mind you, it just said, and I'm trying to get you to put this all together. If planes are flying into the food processing plants, if places are withholding their food from uh, leaving their country, from exports, okay, so they can keep for their nation of people. And then Babylon is having electricity outages and shortages. Food is going to rot. They won't be able to produce much more food in the plants that already are working, right? And then, right, I would tell you, even for the people who think that this world is a good place and they really gonna go green and go electric cars, even for them, when your electricity runs out, where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna go? Or a Tesla could go 300 miles on a full tank of electricity. But when you don't got no electricity, where will you go? And you see, Tesla, the man Nikola Tesla, even though he wasn't the best of a person, he was one of the individuals who taught the world how to create cars that run on water. But you would have thought it was electricity. Now, ask them why they. Can you imagine going to your car just with a water bottle of water, fill it up? I mean, think about it, right? They have dams that produce water dams that produce electricity. So why can't your car run on that same electricity? Well, you got sucker, didn't you? Because you need to actually go to a pump of an electric pump and fill up your electric car with electricity, but you can't run your car on water. So all of it's going to come down, and when it does, it's going to be like a slap in the face to all these people, to all of them. Hey, moving forward. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast down. So that should tell you how many people they're going to drop like flies. There shall be no man left to till the earth. The trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? Think about it. It's all gonna go to waste. All of it. It's gonna be a bad state, brothers and sisters. I'm just telling you. Okay. Chapter 15, 2nd Esdras chapter 15, verse 46 to 58. And I read, and thou, Asia, thou art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person. Did you know that China is also suffering, and they're withholding food and resources from other countries to create a famine in Asia? Did you know that? I saw that article just yesterday. So America and China. Oh boy. Thou thou Asia, thou art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her persons. Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. Now, hast decked thy daughters in whoredom. What does this mean? Think about it. That they might please and glory in thy lovers. Prostitution, aka sex work, is legal. Human trafficking. Remember, scripture says that the women were so high into what? The women who were wanton against Christ, they were all in the pleasures and luxury of the world. So these nations understand, right? If I can get the women on my side, I can what? Create destruction. Remember, it all goes back to Adam and Eve. Eve was not present with Adam. Neither did Eve tell Adam about her conversation with the serpent until she was in trouble. So the point is, the world has created a infrastructure against men versus women. And that's when we have a problem. Because now you have both men and women are two different parts of the Most High's prophecies. Right? Let me show you. Women have the ability to help or assist, I should say, the Most High in creation of nations. Yes. And the men they have the ability to assist the Most High in the structure and leadership of nations. So now, if I take the woman and I weaponize her with independency, right? Because remember there was a point where like Beyonce, all the women, independent, all that stuff, right? Once I weaponize the woman with independency, and remember, this is what they've done. I weaponize them against who? You would think the man, right? But it had nothing to do with men. Men, we're just a process of the Most High's creation, just like women are. Weaponizing women with independency was a slap to the Most High, because nowhere in the Bible does it tell a man or woman to be independent of the Most High, does it? But because they have weaponized the woman's emotions against her and then told her that because a man wants to be in the order of God, that he is holding you back from progression, then you can throw everything down. Now, why did the Most High create more women than men? Because women have the opportunity to produce a creation. If you have less women and more men, then there would not be an equal amount of people to create. But if you have a little bit more women and some men, then they would be able to create nations. And that's where we get the world. Like I said, now you weaponize women with independency, you get abortion. Then you get women who don't want to follow the Bible. Then you get people who want to believe that God is a woman, blasphemies. Then you want to get, then it introduces that, oh, men are of no value to me, which means God would be of no value to them, which means Christ would be no value to them. And it just trickles on down. Then you'd have what? We've developed Jezebels. We've developed walking Jezebels at every angle because women say another woman couldn't correct them because women are very argumentative, yes? But now when a man corrects them, they're still argumentative, right? So now we're decking our daughters in whoredom. We're decking them in the ways of Satan, teaching them independence, not being able to correct them, right? And this goes on how women should be correcting women and severely. Because if a man cannot correct a woman, and the woman say, "Oh, you don't understand me. You're supposed to appreciate me," and the woman can correct another woman in righteousness, that just means women are intolerable, and it's their way or the highway, which means now they hate God because God is order. God is not, oh, you get to do what you want. God is, I created you for a purpose. Now find out the purpose. And if you find me, you'll find your purpose. Well, so, and then what happens? They've created this very well, the evils, because in China and those places, they really had for years restricted people from giving birth, right? And so then that put a mental perception on the females that, oh, well, I don't need to give birth. I don't want to give birth, right? And then you have the females over in Babylon. Well, who cares? They're just, in their words, a clump of cells. Oh, well, I want to do my own thing. So what was the whole point? That they might please and glory in thy lovers. It's a sick world, brothers and sisters. It's a sick world. Verse 48, thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore saith God, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste the houses with destruction and death. And widowhood, right? Which means people would have families, and the Most High gonna have these plagues take out family members. So what you thought you had, stability, he gonna start taking out men, he gonna start taking out grandfathers, uncles, all kinds of people who was not serving the Most High, who was not in order. Don't believe me? Isaiah chapter 3, it says it all there. He gonna take out the men. Verse 50. And the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower, the heat shall arise that is sent over thee. Thou shalt be weakened as a poor woman with stripes, and as one chastised, with wounds, so that the mighty and lover shall not be able to receive thee. Would I with jealousy have so proceeded against thee, saith the Lord? If thou hadst not always slain my chosen, exalted the stroke of thine hands, and sang over their dead, when thou wast drunken, set forth thy beauty of thy countenance, the reward of thy whoredom shall be in thy bosom, therefore shalt thou receive recompense. Like as thou hast done unto my chosen, saith the Lord, even so shall God do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief. Thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy city shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. They that be in the mountains shall die of hunger, and eat their own flesh, and drink their own blood, for a very hunger of bread and thirst of water. So now what does it say, starting from the bottom? There are going to be people to eat their children. When it says their own flesh, that means of their family, of their kin. This was also in the book of Josephus, that mothers used to roast their children. Because how can you live eating your own flesh? They're gonna eat their children, and they're gonna drink of their blood for the very hunger of bread and thirst of water. But you see, if you were serving the Most High, this would have never even came in your mind at all. And as you can see, this is a war. Thy children shall die of hunger. Die of hunger. That's why it's important. And guess what? How many children in Babylon and all these very high established places, these kids don't even know how to eat healthy. They know ice cream, fruit roll-ups, cakes, all this sugar, right? It's gonna be, you see the potato chip plant just went out, right? How many people stuck on potato chips? Thou shalt fall through the sword. The Most High said, thy children shall die. That's why who gives suck. Whoa. Revelations chapter 6. Revelations. Revelations chapter 6, verse 1 through 8. And I read, and I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals. Who opened the seals? The Lamb. Who is the Lamb? Christ. Remember that. A lot of people bypass that. It's so simple, but Christ is the one making sure that this judgment occurs. And I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, come and see, for all my special watches in the Shabuah. There's 7 thunders, and that was one of them, by the way. Moving forward, and I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast come and say, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon, to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil in the wine. And when he had opened the 4th seal, and heard the voice of the 4th beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth, to kill with sword and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Now, uh, normally I wouldn't go over this. I have researched this, but you have to understand power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. Okay, I want you to understand what is the fourth part of the earth. Tartarus. Okay, fourth. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna show you something. All right, so check this out. Scripture says to give, and this is also a hidden one because many people forget this one as well. Power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. No one seems to pay attention, but when you see the world, new world, the Western Hemisphere, specifically the Americas, North America and South America. Look what it says. The Americas were also referred to as the fourth part of the world. So, guess what? Death and destruction is coming to those who live in Babylon and all throughout the Americas. It says death and hell. And he who endures to the end, the same shall be saved. And look what it says, right? And power was given unto them out of the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beast of the earth. That means they will use animals. They will unleash animals to kill people. Now, why did I put this in here? I put this in here specifically for verse 6, understanding that a measure of wheat for a penny, this is inflation. You would notice that the inflation, and you would rise, but you wouldn't get fair wages to pay. And so you'd be like, wow, you mean to tell me I have to pay $15 for 5 pounds of cheese? That's not fair, right? That's not equal. You mean to tell me for orange juice, I almost got to pay $10 for orange juice? That's not fair. You see this? So you would be able to say, wow, look at this inflation. This is an indication. But pay attention, right? Because this is not death and hell that you think. Power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with what? To kill with certain things. To kill with sword, to kill with hunger, to kill with death, which is violence, and to kill with the beast of the earth, which means that there were levels to this evils. Okay. First Maccabees. First Maccabees, chapter 13 through verse 49. And I read this for an example. Okay, I was wanting to get straight into the point. Okay, but you can also read this as a collective unit on your own as well. I would highly suggest it, which would give you a little bit more understanding of what was going on. But I'm wanting to read this just to show you something, just as a comparison. First Maccabees chapter 13, verse 49. They also of the tower in Jerusalem were kept so strait that they could neither come forth nor go into the country, nor buy nor sell. Wherefore they were in great distress for want of victuals. What is victuals? Victuals are food. Okay, you see it here, food. And a great number of them perished through famine. So When I tell you, brothers and sisters, what is this? What do you think it is? It says, in Jerusalem, the tower in Jerusalem were kept so straight that they could neither come forth nor go into the country, nor buy nor sell, nor buy nor sell, nor buy nor sell. What's a correlation to that? Revelations 13, buy or sell, nor buy or sell. They couldn't go in the country, they couldn't go out. They couldn't go in the country, they couldn't go out. They couldn't buy or sell. What is that a correlation to? Revelations 13, 15 through 18 reads, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell. Remember, I just put that, buy or sell, save, which means except he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here's the wisdom. Let him that heareth hath understanding, counting the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So I'm going to cut it off here, but I want to make this clear. We are going to pick right off from First Maccabees again, because I want you to see where this is going. The famine, all these things introduced, is going into a complete shutdown. Okay, a complete shutdown. And now, what? In order to receive this mark, they couldn't just what? They couldn't just advertise it and say, I want you to get this mark. They have to give you a reason to get it, right? Because if there was no reason, why would you get it? Right? They have to create a problem to persuade you to get it. Right? So, with that being said, I'm going to cut it off here, brothers and sisters. I love you all. I hope that this lesson served you well. And until next time, we will finish the scarcity of food when plenty turns to naught. Thank you once again, brothers and sisters, for joining me. Have a blessed and happy Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.